music's probably too high. We'll just go with it. Oh man, I got this little camera thing set up, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this today. It's been looping through my head for the past few weeks, and was gonna like kind of postpone it. So I had some like, whatever. We're here. All right. So yesterday on Patreon, because this is for the patrons, I posted like an infographic. It's kind of what they're called. And the infographic was on the verse, be anxious for nothing, but in everything, with prayer and supplication, present your petition to, And so, I'm paraphrasing, of course. That was such a pivotal and such a deeply moving, one of those like regular verses that becomes like, I need to sit with this over the next week kind of things. And so I thought, what would be a good way for us to sit with this verse other than to kind of discuss it, to discuss what comes of it, because it's one thing to post something, but it's another thing to kind of like give the breakdown. And so just some background to that verse, like practical background. Every day we have things that are happening in our lives, and outside of the present, outside of the moment literally that we are living in, we don't have any control of the outcomes of our day. We can plan, which definitely takes down our worry and any of those things in our lives, but really, we are dependent on Yah to do his part in our day-to-day lives and in our day-to-day moments. And so in my personal life right now, there's an abundance of wonderful things happening, but then there's also this undercurrent thing that we all have, which is previous lived experience, our past, things we're working through, things that can throw us off in a day, road rage, whatever it is. Those kind of things come into our day, and they can disrupt the overall good of the day. And so Yah has had me in this practice for a while of maintaining the overall good that he's established for my day, even if the events in the day seem to want to take me on an up or a down, more mainly the down is the worst part, a downward spiral, because it can be the small things. It can be a microaggression, how somebody says something at work, a negative outcome, your kids forgetting something, and you throwing your schedule off. And I've literally had to stay in this space, and I've been talking to people in my life about it, like, I like to be right here. I don't mind going up and things being better, but I don't ever want to go here. And so how can I maintain balance throughout my day? And so I was having a day a couple of days ago, and this very, very familiar verse came to my mind, and the Most High said, now look at it. Look at the verse word for word and see what I'm saying. And as you guys know, over the years, one of the things that I've been passionate about is word studies. Word studies have been so impactful for me, for my life, for my understanding of the word, because if I know the word's definition and I plug it back into the sentence, now I can get context, but better than context, I can be applicably living out. I can be applying and living out the word on a day-to-day basis because I know what's expected of me. And so when it comes to something like anxiety, which a lot of times we don't know that we're experiencing anxiety. People say, oh, I don't have an anxiety disorder. I don't experience anxiety. I had my bubble burst in the last year because I don't have traditional anxiety. I don't have like where people say, oh, anxiety. I'm just fixing this camera just a little bit, guys. All right. Okay, so like anxiety presents as like anxiety attack, a panic attack, where you're heavy breathing and you're going through these things, and that's not me. And so through conversation and through just, making sure that I'm understanding my own health, physically, mentally, emotionally, I realize that I'm a silent anxiety basket a lot of times. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I am a ruminator. I am going to think on something, think it over, overthink it, apply scenarios to things that are not that, and then work myself up. And then when it happens, go, oh, that was nothing like what I expected. And I waste so much time so much time doing that it really, really cheapens really good moments, because I'm trying to micromanage in so many ways every single thing. And it's really an issue of control, wanting to be in control, wanting to know, wanting to understand. And so maybe over the last 2 years, dealing with the wisdom of not knowing, and learning that I cannot control people, I cannot control outcomes, I can't even defend myself against things. I have to trust that overall, in the big scheme of things, that everything will work out as it's supposed to. Easier said than done. So this week, when I was putting together the infographic and I looked up the word anxious, I love how the creator has organized his word and each individual letter in his word, because it shows us things that we would never see. There's a thought out there that you can't look at the pictographs, the definition. Now, it can be manipulated, but I'll tell you this, even if you took it like a child, you would walk away with a understanding of what that is for you. So I'm looking up the word anxious, and the word anxious was a 3-letter root, and I don't want to mess it up because I messed it up before, where I think it was Gimel Resh Zayin. If I got it wrong, look at the infographic. And literally, or it was Resh Gimel Zayin. One of the Resh Gimel Zayin, I think is the word. And I started sketching it out, and I'm like, okay, Resh, head. Okay, so your head, I'm having trouble hearing you. Sorry. Siri wanted some airtime. Your head, right? Head person first, normally that we say, but then I started thinking, like, what happens in your head? If I'm dealing with anxiety, it's emotional, and it's not really external. So I'm like, okay, your head, what happens in your head? Your thoughts are literally happen in that head portion of your body. So I'm like, okay, head, Gimel, foot, camel, pride. But I was like, oh, yeah, I was like, look at the feet part, to walk, to run, to lift up. And I'm like, sitting there and I'm sketching it out, and then Zayin, plow, to cut off. And yeah, I was like, now focus on the plow part. What is happening? And so I had to switch into my like agrarian Hebrew mind, and I was like, oh my goodness, this word literally gives a medical definition of what anxiety is. What's happening in minds as we're experiencing the physical symptoms of anxiety, you know, the knots in your stomach or the unclear thinking. And I sat with it, and the Ruach literally was like, anxiety is when you allow your mind to run, and it begins to literally plow and groove, right? And you're ruminating, you're plowing, you're cultivating these running thoughts as if they're truth, when the only thing that's true is my word and what I've said and what I've done. And I was like, oh, okay. And so now the verse, all of a sudden, he's like, somebody says, don't be anxious. And you're like, how can I stop being away about something, even if it's a good thing, right? And yeah, I was like, no. And so he's like, and anxiety is not just that, but anxiety happens mainly when it's something that we are either worried about, or something that is angering us, or something that triggers us. We can have positive anxiety, like, you know, nerves or butterflies. It's a little different. This idea is this idea of these running thoughts, and us trying to kind of run over things over and over again in our head, and we're trying to take control. And the verse gives us instruction for that word. And it's so Hebraic, even though it's a New Testament verse. And I love taking New Testament words back to the Hebrew, because we get, you know, that concrete definition. And when you take it back to the Hebrew, and you look at the verse now, as, you know, it's being said in Philippians, you're like, oh, he says, don't be anxious for anything. Nothing. And when he says nothing, he's like, no man, no person, no event, nothing should take you into this space, because I'm in control of that. And he said, no, but everything, prayer, it's like prayer. So you're going to pray about it. You're going to judge what your motive is behind why you're ruminating over it. Why? Why are you not trusting? Why is this thing important? What if this thing doesn't happen? Am I still good? Can you let it go and just trust the process? Can you be content with what you have right now if it's something that you want more of? And then the second thing is now with supplication, because once you get past that part and you've judged yourself in prayer, and let's say this thing is something that really is something that is heavy on your heart, or you need, or Yah needs to intervene, then he's like, after that, after you've gone through and judged your motive and judged your heart, if it's something that is really weighing on you, and it's something that you don't have control over, which is why you're worrying about it, he's like, now give it to me. Come to me with supplication, meaning you've went through and you understand that, one, this is something that's within my will, And you trust that even if I don't do it exactly like you said, that the outcome will be beneficial to you. And so he's like, bring it with supplication, which is now bring it and ask. Ask for the thing that is running through your mind. Ask me. And it's very childlike, because I grew up in a home where if you didn't deserve something, you didn't ask for it. If you went through the process and said, okay, we had like rules. Did you clean your room? Did you do your chores this week? Did you get your homework done? You know, whatever. And then if we, at the end of the week, said, hey, mom, can I have my allowance so I can go do X, Y, and Z? She was like, sure. But if I came and I asked, and I knew I didn't do those things, I didn't go through the step of like almost like tefillah, like I judge myself first, then it was difficult to bring that supplication. And so Yah is asking us, like, if we're worrying about something, judge what we're worrying about. Judge if it's something we need. Judge if it's something in his will. Judge if it's something that is in alignment with what he has already spoken to us. And then if it is, and if we feel like, you know what, I still can't move past this, or this feels pressing, he's like, at that point, then ask me for it. Ask me for it. And he's like, bring that petition to me. And then once you bring the petition, what do? You wait. Plenty of us work jobs where when it's time to take time off, you have to fill out the form, and you know that you have your PTO and you put everything on the sheet. And then once it's on there, you have to submit it to HR. You wait for a response from HR. It's the same thing when we're going to Yah. Once we've done our part and we know and we've done the work, then we submit it, and then we let him take care of the rest. And it moves us out of that space of, now I'm not in control and I know I've done my part. So if anybody comes to me later and they say, well, you didn't do X, Y, and Z, I did these steps according to his word. And it removes the responsibility of us constantly have to make decisions. And it places the burden that causes the anxiety, that causes the ruminating, onto the creator, because we know we've done what we're supposed to do. And I can tell you it's not as easy at first, but it literally is immediately relieving when you can step into a space and say, nope, I'm doing this in Yah's way because I want to live in joy and with a clear mind and be able to appreciate the things in life. Worry, anxiety, anger, ruminating, all that takes away from the sweetness of life. Because even with what we think is not enough, we have more than enough to have joy. We have more than enough to be happy. We have more than enough to be glad and to rejoice in that. We have enough that is sufficient for today. And when we operate with that mindset, and when we think of right now and what the Father has done, even if things begin to go down, we can immediately bring ourselves back up and say, no, 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 because everything is working together for my good. For who? For those who are called according to his promise. Like, he has something for each of us, but we have to operate in the space of hearing his voice and coming to him. And nobody, human, in their right mind would take a person where they know they're reliant and dependent on them and set them up and let them down. So how much more so the creator of the universe, the lover of our, literally the lover of our soul, how would he not keep us in a position that we can continually trust him? He always shows up in the way that he is supposed to for us. And when we know that and we test his track record and we look at what he's done, then we step back and say, you know what? You've been good. And I want to know that now as a 34-year-old woman, and not have to wait till later, till I'm older and say, I look back over my life and Yah's been good to me. I want to do it now. I want to look at my life right now. I want to look at my life in this moment. I want to look at the things that would normally cause me to move in a way that would be contrary to his goodness, and stop myself and say, I'm going to stand adversity in the face and say, my Elohim has been good to me. And because he's been good to me, this is what my disposition needs to be. This is what my speech needs to be. This is what my attitude needs to be. This is what I need to represent to my children. This is what I need to represent to my family. This is what this needs to look like when somebody sees me, when my spouse sees me, whomever. They should look at me and say, man, that wasn't easy, but I love how you did that. And I love the grace you had. And then I can give a testament of how this is not my normal disposition, but this is the disposition I have now that I've submitted and put my emotions into subjection to my Creator. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was encouraging. You guys know I end my videos like, okay, bye. So I didn't want to make this long. It's 15 minutes. I'll try to keep them shorter. But this was very, something that was very impactful for me. And I hope that it's something that encourages you all and kind of sustains you throughout the day, and come back to that and pray through everything, every little thing. Pray through it. Pray through it and wait and pause and look at how, just watch how your life just throughout the day, you keep coming back up to this space of just goodness and grace and mercy and joy and love, and how that's going to literally change the people around you. All right. Shalom.